Hello everybody, it's Jonas Computer Scientist here, and is using AI negatively impacting our coding skills? Let's find out. Okay, so a couple of days ago, Anthropic dropped a new article, How AI Assistance Impacts the Formation of Coding Skills. Now I'll be honest, I use AI. Everybody uses AI. Who doesn't use AI? I've noticed that the way that I use AI kind of impacts how I use things. So like, for example, yesterday I was doing my homework, and while I was doing it, I'm reading my textbook and I'm seeing errors like typos within a textbook or just things getting explained weird. So I would just ask AI to just clarify, and it did perfectly, and it was great. And with that, I understand what I'm doing in this class. Now, granted, I took the class before. I'm only taking it again because I got a C, and I read a book on it. So, doubling down, but I'm just relearning because I'm in the class again, and I need to understand because I think it's been a year since I actually covered the material in the book that I reread. But that's neither here nor there. Let's just get into this article. Research shows AI helps people do parts of their jobs faster. In our observational study of Claude AI data, we found AI can speed up tasks up to 80%. But does this increased productivity come with trade-offs? Other research shows that when people use AI assistants, they become less engaged with their work and reduce the effort they're putting into doing it. In other words, they offload their thinking to AI. I was actually watching a video on YouTube. It was by Dorian Develops. I had like an interview with him. I've met him. He's a pretty cool person. And he actually mentioned how at work all day, a lot of what he's doing is with the use of AI, and his work isn't as engaging as it was. And this article literally says that. And I can really see how that's a thing, how we go through all this trouble, not even trouble, we go through all of this pain of learning programming and to actually get good at it, just for AI to come out and, you know, that thing that you actually enjoyed about it, you actually writing the code, debugging it, and overcoming problems where you actually have to sit and think through them. Why waste time doing that when you can just have AI find your bug way faster? And with that, it actually kind of takes the fun out of it. Now granted, it still comes down to how you are using AI. Yes, it can make you more productive. And with a lot of these questions, right, the answer is always, it depends. So we're going to see how it depends. It's unclear whether this cognitive offloading can prevent people from growing their skills on the job, or in this case of coding, understanding the systems they're building. Our latest study, a randomized controlled trial with software developers as participants, investigates this potential downside of using AI at work. This question has broad implications for how to design AI products that facilitate learning, for how workplaces should approach AI policies, and for broader societal resilience, among others. We focused on coding, a field where AI tools are rapidly becoming the standard. Here, AI creates a potential tension. As coding grows more automated and speeds up work, humans will still need the skills to catch errors, guide output, and ultimately provide oversight for AI deployed in high-stakes environments. Does AI provide a shortcut to both skill development and increased efficiency, or do productivity increases from AI assistance undermine skill development? Now, I'm going to be honest. I've seen situations where people completely rely on AI. There's been, especially in college, there was times where we would get an assignment, or I was on a team full of people working on an assignment together. They had the mindset of, why do this assignment when I could just have AI do it for me and I can get a good grade? And you know, that honestly happens a lot. And I've also heard the term just use AI, similar to how we used to just say, you know, just Google it. But it's kind of a similar concept, because I remember when I was learning how to code and people were talking about if you get stuck on a problem, you can just Google it and figure it out that way. And that can kind of be seen the same way as if you get stuck on a problem, just use AI. And even like in that case, right, you would find code on Stack Overflow and you would have to like put it into your problem/project. You actually have to understand how that code is working, so you understand how it is actually achieving whatever functionality you wanted to achieve. But now we have tools where you have AI inside of the code editor, and it can read everything and kind of get you going in a matter of no time. And you can see that a lot with vibe coding. Like I've literally seen someone, this isn't a bad thing either, but I've seen someone literally vibe code an entire UI, like a front end UI product for a project, completely with AI. And that's literally amazing. And it also kind of makes me feel bad because that's what I was trying to learn the entire time before ChatGPT came out, but that's fine. It's neither here nor there. Let's get back into this article so I can avoid just rambling all the time. In a randomized controlled trial, we examined 1, how quickly software developers picked up a new skill, in this case, a Python library, with and without AI assistance, and 2, whether using AI made them less likely to understand the code they just written. We found that using AI assistants led to a statistically significant decrease in mastery. On a quiz that covered concepts they'd used just a few minutes before, participants in the AI group scored 17% lower than those who coded by hand, or the equivalent of nearly 2 letter grades. Using AI sped up the task slightly, but this didn't reach the threshold of statistical significance. Importantly, using AI assistants didn't guarantee a lower score. How someone used AI influenced how much information they retained. The participants who showed stronger mastery used AI assistants not just to produce code, but to build comprehension while doing so, whether by asking follow-up questions, requesting explanations, or posing conceptual questions while coding independently. So this literally goes back to how you use it. Let's say I'm doing selection sort and I don't fully understand how to code it, right? Instead of using AI and saying, code this for me and tell me about the code, you can say, tell me how this is supposed to work in plain English, no code, and I'm going to try to code it. Or you can say, just what is selection sort? Don't even ask for steps, and then try to code it yourself. That's a way you can use AI in order to learn, compared to give me this answer and tell me why this is the answer, if that makes sense. Okay, so on to the study design. We recruited 52 mostly junior software engineers, each of whom have been using Python at least once a week for over a year. We also made sure they were at least somewhat familiar with AI coding assistants and were unfamiliar with Trio, the Python library on which our tasks were based. We split the study into 3 parts. A warm-up, the main task consisting of coding 2 different features using Trio, which requires understanding concepts related to asynchronous programming, a skill often learned in a professional setting, and a quiz. We told participants that a quiz would follow the task, but encouraged them to work as quickly as possible. We designed the coding task to mimic how someone might learn a new tool through a self-guided tutorial. Each participant was given a problem description, starter code, and a brief explanation of the Trio concepts needed to solve it. We used an online coding platform with an AI assistant in the sidebar, which had access to the participants' code and could at any time produce the correct code if they asked. Okay, so we got these mostly junior software engineers, and you're giving them a question and you're saying, here's AI, you can use it to just give you the answer as quickly as possible, but you're going to be quizzed on what you're doing. And we're humans. Our job is to find the best way to do something. And currently the best way to do XYZ is using AI. And we've seen this over and over and over again. This was actually mentioned to me at my job. But when the calculator first came out, people seen using that as cheating. They wanted you to solve problems by hand. And now look at us, using a calculator, just why wouldn't you use a calculator? It makes everything way faster. Now, obviously, artificial intelligence is this much more complex thing, but in a sense, history continues to repeat itself. In our evaluation design, we drew a research in computer science education to identify 4 types of questions commonly used to access mastery of coding skills: debugging, code reading, code writing, conceptual. And for conceptual, the ability to understand the core principles behind tools and libraries. Our assessment focused most heavily on debugging, code reading, and conceptual problems, as we consider these the most important for providing oversight of what is increasingly likely to be AI-generated code. And for the results, on average, participants in the AI group finished about 2 minutes faster, although the difference was not statistically significant. There was, however, a significant difference in test scores. The AI group averaged 50% on the quiz compared to 67% in the hand coding group, or the equivalent of nearly 2 letter grades. The largest gap in scores between the 2 groups was on debugging questions, suggesting that the ability to understand when code is incorrect and why it fails may be a particular area of concern if AI impedes coding development. I'm going to skip down to the low scoring interaction patterns. The low scoring patterns generally involved a heavy reliance on AI, either through coding generation or debugging. The average quiz scores in this group were less than 40%. They showed less independent thinking and more cognitive offloading. We further separated them into AI delegation, participants in this group who wholly relied on AI to write the code and complete the task. They completed the task the fastest and encountered few or no errors in the process. Then we have progressive AI reliance, participants in the group that started by asking 1 or 2 questions but eventually delegated all of the code writing to the AI assistant. They scored poorly on the quiz, largely due to not mastering any of the concepts on the second task. Iterative AI debugging. Participants in this group relied on AI to debug and verify their code. They asked more questions but relied on the assistant to solve problems rather than to clarify their own understanding. They scored poorly as a result and were also slower completing the 2 tasks. It's starting to get a little dark, so I had to turn my light on, but this is pretty much self-explanatory. If you get someone else to do your work for you, you don't learn anything. If you do your work yourself, you learn everything. I have to get an oil change soon. I'm going to take it to a mechanic. The mechanic is going to change my oil. If you ask me to change my oil after I get my mechanic to change my oil, I'm not going to know how to change my oil. These people are getting a problem and they're asking AI to solve it for them, and then you're asking them, how did it get done? And we've known this. We know that this is not how you learn or grasp a concept or a theory or just learn. We knew this. In order to learn something, you have to do it. Now, I could go to my mechanic and I could say, hey, can you teach me how to change my oil? And he could either do it himself, like change the oil himself, but go through everything and tell me how he's doing it and I just watch. Or he could like guide me, a little bit in the first half, hey, pop your hood, take the screw off. This screw's not coming off. Can you kind of do the rest? And then he could just, do the rest, which I still won't learn anything. Or I could do the entire thing myself while he's telling me what to do. But if the entire thing is hands-on, I'm learning it, especially if it's repeated. But we're not really talking about things being repeated. Hopefully that analogy was good, because I'm just trying my best here. And then we have high scoring interaction patterns. We considered high scoring quiz patterns to be behaviors where the average quiz score was 65% or higher. Participants in these clusters used AI both for code generation and conceptual queries, generation and then comprehension. Participants in this group first generated the code and then manually copied or pasted the code into their work. After their code was generated, they asked the AI assistant follow-up questions to improve their understanding. These participants were not particularly fast when using AI, but showed a higher level of understanding on the quiz. Interestingly, this approach looked nearly the same as that of the AI delegation group, except for the fact that they used AI to check their own understanding. Hybrid code explanation. Participants in this group composed hybrid queries in which they asked the code for the code generation along with explanations of the generated code. Reading and understanding the explanations they asked for took more time but helped them in their comprehension. Conceptual inquiry. Participants in this group only asked conceptual questions and relied on their improved understanding to complete the task. Although this group encountered many errors, they also independently resolved them. On average, this mode was the fastest among high-scoring patterns and second fastest overall after code delegation. Our qualitative analysis does not draw a causal link between interaction patterns and learning outcomes, but it does point to behaviors associated with different learning outcomes. Yeah, I don't know, man. In my personal time when I'm coding my website, not website, but my application that I'm planning to do because I have nothing else to do in my free time, I do plan on using a lot less AI just to get more understanding of what's actually going on, because that's the difference between a senior and a junior. I think there's those people that have been coding for years and years and years, and when they're using AI, they're quickly spotting, hey, this is wrong, this is not efficient, this needs to be fixed, compared to someone who is legit just delegating everything to AI, and then they're getting garbage code and they're just like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that backdoor was there, I just had AI created. But I don't have a problem with AI. At the end of the day, it is a great tool. I see it as a teacher that you can just keep asking questions to, and they can never, ever, ever yell at you. You know how great that is for learning a language? It's amazing. Or even if I'm learning a very complex concept and I'm just like, hey, explain this to me like I'm 5. And it just does it. But if you've noticed, I'm saying I'm asking these questions. I'm using it to aid in my learning. I'll also use it to, reword very aggressive emails so that when I send it to my colleagues, it sounds like I'm nice. But overall, everything just depends on how you use it. So yeah, complete reliance on AI, you will stun your cognitive growth. Using AI to assist you in getting a desired outcome where you're actually paying attention and learning what the code is doing and getting it to work, you're bettering your cognitive ability. And then if you just don't use it at all, some will just say you're idiotic because AI exists. Put your comments below and I'm going to read them and reply to them. But all in all, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. You can join my Discord. The link is going to be in the description. I did create an Instagram, but I haven't posted anything on there yet. So we're going to see if I'm really consistent, and then I'll start plugging those in the video. But until then, I'm just going to see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.
I'm insecure still, and she's starting to notice. She think my feelings are bogus, but really